it's really based on what I call Taoist non-attachment, or not having, um, trying not to have one's own expectations before we engage with others. So it's a beautiful a process to listen, observe, validate, empower for yourself, first of all, to build your own confidence. And then also when working with animals and in business, even in the corporate world where you're managing teams, to listen to what your heart is saying when you're in your own presence, to your inner guidance. Listen to what the other person is saying. Listen to what the animals are saying. The animals, the horses, are saying so much to us that sometimes we're so caught in our head, in our intellect, in the shoulds, in the rush, we're missing the messages from them. And then observe. We want to observe ourselves as like a conscious observer, and observe others, observe animals.
Welcome to the Better Life for Animals podcast, where we amplify the voices of animal advocates, sanctuaries, and changemakers working toward a kinder, more compassionate world. Through powerful stories and expert insights, we shine a light on the efforts to rescue, protect, and advocate for animals. Be sure to subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. Every follower helps us reach more people. And support animal sanctuaries. Enjoy the conversation.
My guest today is Lidia Kuleshnyk, also known as Lady Apona, a high-performance wellness coach, author, and founder of AponaHealing.com. She specializes in helping overworked individuals, particularly high achievers, manage stress and create a state of well-being through various wellness coaching techniques, including equine-assisted therapy. Lidia also offers retreats and workshops for personal and corporate growth. Lidia, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here today with us.
Well, thank you. It's such an honor and pleasure to be here with you and to share our insights with the world, and our passion and our love of animals.
Absolutely. Lidia, you've spent over 30 years helping people heal from grief and loss. How does this experience inform your approach to healing the collective trauma caused by abuse and the subjugation of animals, particularly horses?
Well, in ancient teachings, they often say the greatest cause of suffering is separation.
Oh.
And this has been a fundamental principle, you might say, of what we call the last 13,500 years of darkness on the earth, of seeing ourselves as separate and not including all of the beautiful life on the planet, including our beautiful brothers and sisters of the I don't like to even say animal, but of the sentient spiritual world, as part of our own value, and existence. And we're going through this huge paradigm shift right now, and it'll continue for decades to come, where we start to understand the impact that this concept of separation, that we are separate from nature, we're separate from the animals, we are not one, the devastating impact it has had, on all of us, on the animals first and foremost, how they're treated throughout history, and also on how we feel they're suffering through just our own being part of the collective, and then our own journey on the earth, through our own trauma and grief and struggles. So we're really coming out of a time of this incredible separation and struggle into returning to wholeness and oneness, and living it and applying it.
That's very interesting. Do you think that that's one of the more difficult truths about humanity's relationship with horses and animals, or is there something else that we collectively need to acknowledge in order to begin healing?
Well, humans have taken pride in being very intellectual. So
Hmm.
I always say being intellectual does not necessarily mean intelligence, because if we were intelligent, we wouldn't have so much suffering of humans and horses and animals and the planet itself. Um, so humans have the ability to self-justify. And so from the concept of separation, even if it's subconscious, then humans are very good at self-justifying their right to do certain things because they've lost connection in some cases to their soul. And so there are many approaches to self-justifying how we treat animals, which results in tremendous suffering and pain and loss for all of us.
Interesting. When I was looking at your website, Lydia, I saw so much information, most of it tragic about horses. And I know that you're not an expert on pregnant mare urine, but I'm just wondering what lessons we can learn from the rise and decline of PMU farms, and how can these lessons guide future advocacy for animal welfare?
Well, again, it's just the whole concept, the whole belief system that the horses, in this case the PMU mares, are nothing more than objects, nothing more than widgets in a factory. And to not see them as the highly evolved spiritual beings, the divine beings of who they really are. I was introduced to horses as divine spiritual beings through dreams 30 years ago when they came to me as pillars of white light, guiding me and also asking for help. So
Mm,
what my very brief, I'm not an expert, as I was saying, in
mhm,
the PMU mare situation, but my brief understanding of it is that when information became revealed of the damage of Premarin and the products that were created in that industry to human women,
mhm,
then the industry started to decline. So again, it's that concept of when it's important to a human, then we can, extrapolate it to the horses. But until there was that connection to human health, then the horses were treated as nothing more than objects, um, inanimate objects in a factory, which it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific to consider the lives of these PMU mares. It's horrifying. And then all the foals.
mhm,
There was one source um, that was shared with me that at the time there were 50,000 foals slaughtered. I think it was every year as a result of the PMU farms, and they were slaughtered in slaughterhouses. These foals that are produced. So I mean the lessons are again going back to what are our values? Who are we? What are we creating? Do you understand the impact that
right.
you as a creator have on your actions and what you're doing? Who are these people who take pride in torturing the PMU mares that way?
It's not unlike the cow story, where they're kept
100%.
perpetually pregnant, and then there's these poor calves. It's just tragic. I have a little bit of hope around this whole animal testing piece because there seems to be some talk about, we don't really need it after all. They've come to realize that 95% of this doesn't work anyway, as if that is the only reason. But so I just thought it was really important that we highlight this is happening, to horses, and something that a lot of people consider, like a dog or a cat, So it's not there. No one is being spared. So thank you for talking about that with me. You speak about the Ho'oponopono Hawaiian prayer, which I'm familiar with. I've actually been a part of a circle that has used that as a practice of apology and forgiveness directed towards animals to create, real change in both individuals and communities. Can you talk about how that works?
Well, I'm still new to the Ho'oponopono, and I was introduced to it when I was filming the Zero Limits movie by Dr. Joe Vitale. I have a feature in there where I'm discussing horses as healers. And from my exposure to Ho'oponopono through my participation in that movie, we started sharing it with the horses. And I mean, they really respond to it. And we can share the prayer for our own experience as humans and to the animals. And it's really a time on the planet to start to open our heart and feel the emotion
Mm,
of the suffering, to acknowledge what the horses and the animals are going through. And so with Ho'oponopono, the four basic phrases are please forgive me, I'm sorry, thank you, I love you. And my limited experience with it is it doesn't matter which phrase is said first. And I became really connected to it because I kind of say it to my horses already without realizing it was a prayer. So when I go out to my horses, like let's say I'm busy and I see them from the field, I always just stand with my heart open and say, I love you. I love you. And then their ears go up, And then when I'm with them closer, I say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I get emotional. I'm sorry for your suffering and trauma that was unnecessary. I'm sorry for your brothers and sisters' suffering and trauma that
mm,
is unnecessary. The
mhm.
plight of horses, race horses, I mean, like lessons horses who were sent to slaughter after summer camp. I mean, work horses, draft horses, wild horses. There's a holocaust of horses. They're being eradicated. Like the more you learn, I mean, it's horrifying. And so we all each have our own role to play. So I say for the human collective, please forgive me. I'm sorry. Thank you, high spiritual being, for coming to earth and holding sacred light for all of us, for all of
Absolutely.
us, and enduring such hardship. And I love you. So that's the
Yes.
Ho'oponopono. That's how we're sharing it here at the ranch for healing of ourselves and with the horses. They're so divine. Like horses meet you where you're at, right? So they will try and relate to you at your level of consciousness. And when they understand that you see them as divine spiritual beings, they reveal themselves to you in the most magnificent glory. You're forever changed. It's like being in heaven on earth, when they fully expand who they are and embrace you.
That's beautiful, Lydia.
You're listening to Better Life for Animals podcast. Our mission is to amplify the voices of animal advocates, sanctuaries, and changemakers working toward a kinder, more compassionate world. But we can't do it alone. We need your help. First of all, go ahead and subscribe to this channel wherever you're watching or listening. And then get involved by visiting betterlifeforanimals.com. That's betterlifeforanimals.com. Be sure to check out our blog, learn more about incredible sanctuaries, and explore our book section, where 100% of net proceeds from book sales are donated to sanctuaries. Every action you take helps to make a difference. And remember, subscribe to this channel. And now, back to the show.
If you're just joining us, we are speaking with Lidia Kuleshnyk of Apona Healing, and this is Better Life for Animals. Lidia, tell us about your L.O.V.E method. Listen, observe, validate, empower. How can listeners use this approach in their everyday interactions with animals and even with each other?
Well, it's really based on what I call Taoist non-attachment, or not having, um, trying not to have one's own expectations before we engage with others. So it's a beautiful a process to listen, observe, validate, empower for yourself, first of all, to build your own confidence. And then also when working with animals and in business, even in the corporate world where you're managing teams, to listen to what your heart is saying when you're in your own presence, to your inner guidance. Listen to what the other person is saying. Listen to what the animals are saying. The animals, the horses, are saying so much to us that sometimes we're so caught in our head, in our intellect, in the shoulds, in the rush, we're missing the messages from them. And then observe. We want to observe ourselves as like a conscious observer, and observe others, observe animals, observe your team, if you're in the corporate world, and then be positive, validate where you're at. In every moment, every human and animal is doing the best they can in the state and the circumstance they're in that moment. And their truth in that moment is their truth in that moment, whether I agree with it or not. That's their truth, whether I understand it or not. So I want to hold a sacred space by validating is the sacred space. You're not judging. You're acknowledging either your accomplishments or something positive. Like if you're working with a horse, then rather than getting upset that the horse didn't do something right, you just say that's okay. I love you. We're going to validate our experience together. And then empower. So listen, observe, validate, empower, and then continue on a positive flow of energy to get feedback, to encourage, to bring insight before we bring in recommendations. This is like pre-recommendations. So of course there are times where we have to make recommendations. When I work with a client with cancer and I'm doing macrobiotic healing food, I make recommendations about the food. But I first listen, I observe, I validate, and then I empower, right, through a collaborative process. So it's a very simple, powerful method that can be used personally with animals, and in team building and in organizational effectiveness.
You're passionate about creating equine land trusts and forever home sanctuaries. So, what are the biggest obstacles and opportunities in making these dreams come true?
Oh, well, we could do a whole series on on that topic. But in the horse world, one of the biggest excuses, for slaughtering horses is that there are no homes for horses. And I completely disagree with that. I like to say, it's not that there's no homes for horses, so we have to torture them and kill them in a slaughterhouse. I mean, it's that we haven't committed enough to create, a new model to create those homes for horses. And there are many people who are passionate about horses who would love to help care for horses, but they may not own their own land. They may not, be in a position in their life where they can care for horses, maybe their health or, where they're living. Um, So they may donate to a horse sanctuary or animal sanctuary. They may support in different ways. They may go out and volunteer. But with something like an equine land trust, then it would be like a stewardship to give people an opportunity to take care of land, to honor life, to truly honor life, to honor the life of the land, to honor the life of the horses, and to honor your own life in a way where we can utilize land that I know in my area, they sometimes call it good for nothing land because you can't, farm it. You're on the Canadian Shield, and that's just good for nothing land. But we've regenerated some of our rocky fields here on the Canadian Shield, and it takes some time, and we have beautiful horse pastures now. And we can regenerate land, and we can take good for nothing land, turn them into sanctuaries, forever home sanctuaries for, let's say in this case, horses, like an equine land trust, and have give someone an opportunity to be a steward, right? And then the model that I would be looking at, which I have not fully developed, would be to have something like Habitat for Humanity,
Oh,
where there's corporate sponsors involved and the community gets involved. And then there's like a stewardship program, stewardship of the land, of the animal, and if they're forever homes. One of the biggest challenges in the horse world is that the average horse in North America, domesticated horse, is bought and sold 7 times. It's very traumatizing for that horse. They lose their family and friends. They have to learn new rules, learn new spaces, and they're alone. And also in the slaughter pipeline, horses sometimes end up in the slaughter pipeline over and over again because they're resold and there's no guarantee, there's no way to secure that they don't end up, even there may have been good intentions along the way. So I see sanctuaries, forever home sanctuaries, as a solution, as an alternative to slaughterhouses. I mean, the days of slaughterhouses on the planet have to end. I grew up visiting slaughterhouses.
hmm.
My father was a meat inspector with the provincial government, and I was in slaughterhouses as a young person. So I saw the devastation on his life as a meat inspector there. He took pride in protecting the public health from tainted meat and diseased meat. But I saw how it destroyed his life, and I saw what happened, in slaughterhouses. And we have a beautiful planet with all this land in Canada, and in parts of the United States where we can create equine land trusts with forever home sanctuaries.
Beautifully put. So it sounds like some of the ways that you keep your sanctuary going afloat is you offer these programs, equine therapy. So can you tell us a little bit about what the typical uh, participant would experience, how long it runs, what they hope to get out of it? Tell me about that.
Well, absolutely. So the equine therapy and the equine healing retreats can be specifically with horses for your own spiritual connection. So to help you open your intuition, your heart, your inner knowing, and they can be one-on-one therapy sessions, or they can be an equine healing retreat where your relationship with yourself and the horses are the focus. And we also include horses in our other retreats to the degree that the participants are interested in connecting with the horses. So we usually start with a questionnaire to identify what your goals are and what you would like to achieve in your healing process. Um, and then before we go out to the horses, we do energy clearing. We may be smudging. We may practice Ho'oponopono. And then we go out to the horses. And equine therapy is very diverse, and they're all beautiful approaches. But we basically meditate with the horses. So we stand in silence, stillness, and presence with the horses, and they're holding sacred space for us already, so we honor that. and then we hold sacred space for them. And literally, like miracles happen in people's own breakthroughs in their own personal development. They'll have great insight. Standing in silence and stillness and presence with horses activates, the what's in you already to come out, the peace and empowerment that's waiting to be revealed to you and to share with the world, because each of us is already a highly evolved, powerful spiritual being. It's just a time where we're awakening to that and embracing that, and the horses just are waiting for us to join them in celebrating being divine beings. Like they've been waiting how many years, hundreds or more years, right, for us to catch up to them. And then we will have sessions with the horses, and then we will come back into our guest house, and we'll have some healing food. We may do Reiki energy healing sessions. We'll have journaling sessions. We may sit by the fire. We have trails where we have crystals on from the Canadian Shield that people can find. We have little hidden Buddhas that you can find. So we have opportunities for walking. We have a lake across the property, and and inner reflection, self-reflection. So it could be turning stress into success, with executives and high performers who are unwinding and finding their center again. It may be with someone dealing with trauma and depression and anxiety, or a group around that. We have a program, Hidden Buddha, the journey of self-discovery. Discover your core beliefs, values, passion, and purpose. I work with clients with chronic illness and chronic health conditions like cancer. So we may have a retreat healing with cancer and other chronic health conditions. So I have 4 pathways of services that I've developed over the last 30 years, and horses can be as much a part of that experience as you like, or we can make it specifically an equine healing retreat.
So it's an individual experience, custom tailored to your specific wants and needs.
It can be, yeah. So I've been doing one-on-one work with clients for 30 years, and now my group retreats and coaching programs that I'm making public. I have done group already, but they've always been private. Are small groups. So we have maybe 3 to maybe 7 people to 10 people in a group experience, but we always offer personalized individual attention and support.
Sounds wonderful. Sign me up, Lydia.
You're always welcome.
Okay. So for listeners that are moved by this conversation, as I am, so what are 3 practical steps that we can take today to begin our relationship with animals and contribute to a more compassionate world?
Well, there's mindset, and managing our energy and managing our stress. So I like to say the 3 fundamental pillars of healing, transformation, growth, and change are committing to becoming more centered within yourself, and connecting with your essence, your power. So being centered, connected, and conscious. To take time to pause and reflect, like, what am I doing? What am I creating? What are my values, beliefs? How are my choices affecting my actions? So then we have awareness, acceptance, and action. And then for anyone interested in helping at sanctuaries, they can donate to sanctuaries, you can volunteer, you can start your own sanctuary like I did. So we want to be clear and intentional, on feeling that we're acting from our soul, from our heart, and then honor. We want to honor those actions and feel fulfilled going forward that we are making a difference in the lives of animals, humans, and the world.
Is there anything I've left out, Lydia, that you would like to discuss? Because this has just been such a fabulous conversation filled with so many nuggets. But I don't want, if there's something I didn't cover, please let's do it now before we say goodbye.
I'm trying to think. I think, yeah, it was a beautifully enriching conversation. And I do offer, I wrote a chapter in a book called The Divinity of Horses, where I share my own experience connecting to intuition and spiritual messages to save my first horse from slaughter. And it was all through dreams and spiritual messages. And I had to learn that process because Trigger, the horse that eventually I would buy, we don't want to use, but who I would save from slaughter and bring here, his life was at stake. I had to figure it out. And it was very critical. He came to me in dreams every night asking me for help, but I was still kind of new and playing around, didn't really know. So I developed 7 steps to co-create with the divine and access your intuition and inner knowing. Would you like me to briefly summarize those
Sure,
7 steps?
absolutely.
So again, listening. We want to listen to the messages that we're receiving, and then we want to honor and value the importance of our spirit and the importance of those messages. It does take time sometimes. Is it just my own thought? Is it a spiritual message? But you will refine that natural ability. And then you want to feel, step 3 is to feel the fullness of your emotions. We want to feel emotional, that there are beings who need our help because they're sending out an SOS for help from their soul. Every animal is sending out an SOS to help who's in distress, who's in a slaughter kill lot. And they come to me, the horses send me the SOSs, and they come to me and ask in dreams, ask me for help. And I feel emotional. And then feel connected. So I feel centered in my power. That's step 4. You feel centered that this is real, this is powerful. And I connect with the clarity of the message, of the mission, the clarity of the mission. I may not know exactly what to do, but I'm clear on my calling. And then step 5 is to embrace the faith and inner knowing that this is real and it's valuable. Saving lives is valuable. Honoring life is the highest value of all. And then step 6, taking those aligned actions. So we want to really act on, and it could be incrementally, act on the mission that we're receiving and that we're flowing with. And then step 7 is to just trust the journey. And that when we act in alignment with our soul and our heart, regardless of what other people say or think, regardless of any kind of criticism or attack, we stay centered, connected, and conscious. We honor life, and we will create miracles in the universe unbeknownst to even us. So we are miracle makers, we are creators, and the animals need us, the horses need us to step up into our power, shine our light, and honor them.
So it's 2025, Lydia. What do you think for the near term as far as your future plans?
In terms of
Your
with the
sanctuary
planet?
and your work, yes.
The sanctuary. Yes. Well, I'm finishing getting my group coaching programs and retreats on my website, even though we've been offering them for a very long time, just through my own private clients and referrals. And then continuing to just love offering, being of service to the animals and the horses, showing reverence to them for who they really are, and that we are equals in this beautiful journey on earth. They have a birthright to be here
Mm-hmm.
and live in peace and happiness. They come in love. I mean, they're here to love and at least live in their own habitat without humans destroying them. And yes, and so I just turned 60, so I'm looking forward to my next few decades of being in flow, offering service, and raising the frequency of the earth through the collective consciousness of honoring life.
Lidia, tell us all how we can find you.
My ranch page is aponahealing.com/ranch. And you can take a look through there. We talk about equine therapy, about the divinity of horses, about how horses are healers, like the study from the Heart Math Institute, about the electromagnetic field of a horse's heart is 5 times larger than a human's and how it helps them heal. And then I have my other 3 pathways on aponahealing.com, the umbrella website. So one is for chronic illness and helping turn the limitations of that into liberation. And then the journey of self-discovery that I mentioned about who am I? What are my core beliefs and values? Am I releasing old imprints that weren't mine, maybe generational, maybe from this lifetime, and stepping into our power of remembering who we are. And then my high performance wellness coaching to really master your inner power and turn chronic stress into lasting success by, again, honoring yourself and leaving a legacy of light for others and the planet.
Beautiful. Lidia, thank you so much for joining us today. And for those of you who have been listening, if you've enjoyed it, please like and subscribe so that we can continue to create a better life for animals.
Thank you for joining us on the Better Life for Animals podcast. Together, we can create a world where all beings are treated with dignity, respect, and care. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening. It helps us reach more people and spread awareness about the incredible work happening in animal sanctuaries. You can also share this episode with friends and fellow advocates to keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep speaking up, taking action, and making a difference for the animals.